Cruise news time. Well, we got a huge change coming out from Carnival's vaccine exemption policy, and maybe an even huger FDA announcement. And then let's check in on the NCL Gem. They finished their first week of cruising, and has their color changed like so many other cruise ships that finished their first week of cruising? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, welcome to another day. It is August the 23rd, Monday, August the 23rd, 2021. And I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody that reached out yesterday with birthday wishes and kind words and encouragement. And thank you. I had a very heartwarming day yesterday, and that has to do so much with all of you. Thank you guys so much. And a big shout out to my friend Don Terrace, fellow cruise tuber, YouTuber, shipmate, a dude that I've cruised with a few times. He made a whole video wishing me happy birthday. So Don, thank you, man. It meant a lot. And look, if you watched the show yesterday, you might have been pleasantly surprised as we took a break from some of the heavy topics that we've been dealing with for the cruise restart. Well, guess what? That break is over. So buckle up. Here we go with the cruise news. First out, Carnival has made a big change when it comes to their vaccine exemption policy. So right now, Carnival cruise ships, they're cruising at 95% vaccinated guests with a 5% unvaccinated guest. And that 5% unvaccinated guest, you have to apply to be a part of it. They have a vaccine exemption policy. So they're using that 5% for kids that are under 12 that cannot be vaccinated. And then they're also using that 5% for adults or people that are 12 or older that could get vaccinated but choose not to or cannot for a medical reason. They haven't really pushed too much as to why. Can you not do it for a medical reason, or do you just not want to? They're not asking that question, but now they are. And so if you got an exemption based on the idea that you didn't want to get the vaccine, well, you may not have an exemption anymore. Why? What's happening? Well, if you remember the story coming out last week, the Bahamas, which is a real pivotal cruise port right now, a real important cruise port for the cruise restart because many of the cruise line's private islands are there. Nassau seems to be a stop on most cruises. They made a big change. They came out and said, we will not allow any cruise ships into the Bahamian ports that have any unvaccinated people on it unless those unvaccinated people are below the age of 12 or unless they have a medical reason not to have a vaccine. And so this has put a lot of cruise lines into a challenge situation, and we've seen changes come from MSC, we've seen changes come from Royal Caribbean International, and now we see this change coming from Carnival Cruise Line. And so Carnival Cruise Line updated their policies on the website. Here's the update. Pause it if you want to read it, but I will summarize the highlights. The highlights are this: if you're cruising out of the Atlantic coast or the Gulf Coast down into the Caribbean, there's a lot of countries that are putting more restrictive policies in place, and to adjust to those restrictive policies, Carnival is changing their vaccine exemption policy. So what that means practically is if you're cruising on Carnival Cruise Line after August the 28th, if you've already been approved for your exemption for your cruise, you have to show up at the cruise port. If you're under 12, you've got to have your normal documentation, your birth certificate or your passport. If you're over 12, not only do you have to have your normal documentation, but you also have to have a letter from a medical professional saying that the reason you haven't been vaccinated is for a medical reason. If you don't have that, then you don't have an exemption to cruise after the 28th of August on Carnival Cruise Line. And of course, this is in addition to all the other stuff like needing tests and all that stuff, or insurance when you go to the port. Make sure you check all your requirements with the cruise line before you go, but specifically talking here about the vaccine exemption process. That's a big change, and of course it begs the question to me, did you have a vaccine exemption because you did not want to take the vaccine on Carnival? What kind of communication did you get around this? Do you have to move your cruise now? Will you go back and try to get a medical exemption? Let's have that conversation in the comments. Carrying on with the vaccine talk, I'm sure you've seen it today. It's probably blowing up everywhere, but the FDA has officially approved the Pfizer vaccine. A lot of the vaccine hesitancy has been based around the idea that the vaccines have only been operating under the FDA's emergency authorization. A lot of times people will say these are experimental vaccines, which would be technically true as they're operating under the emergency authorization, semantically, technically true. Now the process has been completed for the Pfizer vaccine, and it is approved by the FDA, full approval by the FDA for anyone who is 16 and older. Whether or not this will change anybody's mind is yet to be seen, but at least one of the big objections that I've seen all over social media in the comments on these videos is there is a concern that these vaccines were not fully approved by the FDA, and now we have Pfizer being fully approved by the FDA. That's big, and many of the people that are tracking along with this point out that this is probably the first domino to fall, that as time goes forward, we will see full approval for Moderna and for Johnson & Johnson. Only time will tell on that. But if you're somebody out there that didn't want to get an experimental vaccine or a vaccine that was only authorized under emergency authorization, you can now sign up and get the Pfizer vaccine, which is fully approved by the FDA. And as soon as I saw that story, of course, the burning question in my mind is, will this change anybody else's mind, or will it just change the conversation? So if you've been hesitant because of that emergency authorization, do you now feel comfortable with the Pfizer vaccine? We can have that conversation. Ooh, I got a feeling the comments are going to be a little spicy today. I got 2 more cruise news stories. First, we got to figure out whether NCL was able to cruise a week without any reported COVID cases, because it seems like every other cruise ship that went cruising for a week found some way to have a COVID case. If you're looking at the color chart on the CDC, did the NCL Gem that's cruising 100% vaccinated crew, 100% vaccinated passenger, are they still green? We will check that out. And then I got an interesting story about face mask on Disney. But before we get there, let me quickly invite you to subscribe if you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising. Please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes, and you can be a part of the hashtag notification squad. Somebody hashtag me a notification squad today if you got a notification, and how quickly did you get it? I'm curious. Thank you in advance. All right, let's talk a little Disney Cruise Line. Disney's got a masking policy, of course. They're cruising with vaccinated and unvaccinated passengers, a lot of kids, and so you have to wear a mask inside on a Disney cruise, except when you're eating and drinking. But they also have another caveat or an exemption to their mask policy. You can also take the mask down inside if you're taking a picture. You need to keep social distancing in mind, but yeah, you will not get chastised on a Disney cruise if you drop the mask for a picture. And so what if you run video the whole time? Does that count? I don't think it counts. I'm just kidding. But that's good to know. There's a lot of people concerned going on to Disney. Will I be able to take a picture around the ship or with characters if they're there off in the distance? Do I want that with the mask? You can take it with the mask down. I've taken pictures with both mask up and mask down when I've met people. I think everybody probably prefers to be in the picture with the mask down, but I'm okay with either one. But if you're on Disney, there you go. And finally, let's look at the Norwegian Gem, the first cruise ship to leave Florida with 100% vaccinated passengers, 100% vaccinated crew. They had to go to court so that they could do that. They had to get an injunction against the law in Florida asking about vaccine status. And on the heels of the realization that most of the cruise ships that went out with primarily vaccinated passengers were showing up with reported cases, the question is begged, what about you, NCL Gem? Are we going to look at you on the CDC site and see yellow or see you orange, or are you still going to be green? Here's the quick reveal. Boom. NCL still green after a week of cruising. This data was updated on August the 19th. The NCL Gem came back in from their first cruise, reloaded up with passengers yesterday, August the 22nd, and they're back out on the sea. But so far, green. Does this indicate that their process is working good, or have they just gotten lucky? Of course, it'll take a few more cruises to tell, but NCL continues to push forward with their 100% vaccinated cruising. We will continue to track along with that. Boom, that's your cruise news. Questions for the comments? What do you think about this change on Carnival? Again, anything change in your mind about now full approval of the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, and pictures? Do you like a mask or maskless? I don't know, a lot to talk about. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Please hit the like button, or the next time you go to get some loose leaf paper, there won't be any college rule, which is what you prefer to write on. You'll just be stuck with that big old wide ruled paper. What can you do with that? This is Tony with La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.